Right of Way is a really interesting film. This was released in 1983. It's directed by George Schaefer, written by Richard Leese, and we have a cast including Bette Davis and James Stewart. We also have John Ratzenberger in it a little bit. It's because of Ratzenberger that I became aware of this and wanted to watch it. And honestly, had I come across it randomly anyway, I think I would have watched it anyway, because it sounded really, really interesting. And I'm pleased to say that though it was a little slow in places, in general, it was a really fascinating film. It's about a married couple, an older married couple, Minnie and Teddy. And Minnie is unwell, she's dying, and she and Teddy decide that they lived together, so they want to die together. And they are planning their end. And when they tell people about this, their family, they obviously push back and say, you can't do this. And it's kind of, well, the main question for me was, will they go through with it? Will they be able to go through with it? Will anybody stop them? And I'm not going to give any of that information away. I don't want to say what happens. But in addition to the question of ultimately what will happen, it also raises a lot of moral questions and also legal, because this isn't legal at the time. And I don't think it's even legal now. It's not illegal to take your own life, but I think it is to assist somebody doing it. And if they're kind of assisting each other, that's illegal. So it's a very murky legal area. And of course, the big question is, if it's somebody's own life, shouldn't they be allowed to do what they want? And this is a really big topic at the moment, certainly in the UK, where we actually have facilities that are assisting with this if somebody is near the end of their life. Obviously, that's not somebody helping somebody else do it when they're related to each other, when they're married. But certainly this topic of the right to choose is really important, I'd say now more than ever, because we're starting to look at the legal side of it and making certain things legal, which is scary, but I also think an interesting step. I don't know if it's a step forward. I feel like in some ways it is. I feel like in some ways it isn't. But it's definitely not a step back. But it certainly made me think a lot about that and the way things are at the moment. And obviously at the time it would have been really important as well. And I think it's always important. I think it's always a really important and very heavy topic as well. It's absolutely not an easy conversation. But what's quite interesting about this is that Minnie and Teddy are, I don't want to say happy with their decision. That's not the right word. But they're content. They've made their decision. They're not just considering it anymore. This is what they're going to do. And they've made their peace with it. And so for a viewer watching it, it's quite heavy. It's quite emotional. But they're not, for the most part, really showing a lot of those emotions because they've made their peace with it. And that's quite interesting. So I think there are some really fascinating moments in this. The overarching narrative is interesting and I think really important. I think it raises a lot of different perspectives. The legal side of it is, of course, really fascinating. And the characters, certainly Minnie and Teddy, are really likeable. And that's also a very difficult thing because on the one hand, well, I absolutely want the best for them. But what they want may or may not be the best for them. Obviously, for me as a viewer, that's not necessarily my position to say, but I want them to have what they want, but I also don't want them to die. So it's a really uncomfortable, but in a fascinating way, kind of viewing experience. It is a little slow in places, nothing too dramatic, nothing that made me ever feel bored, but there are times when it maybe could have quickened up a little bit. But for the most part, I'd say it's a really fascinating, compelling story that very sensitively addresses a really important topic. It's very moving. It's not overly emotional, but obviously just the general concept itself does come with a lot of emotions. It's not heavy, but it's not an easy watch at the same time. And I think that is largely because of the attitudes of Minnie and Teddy and how they're going about it. Most of the heightened emotions come from other characters, which is a really interesting experience. So I absolutely recommend it. It's not going to be for everybody, or it's not going to be something that everybody can watch at any time. I think you absolutely need to be in the right frame of mind for this. But if you are, and if it's something you think might be quite a fascinating experience, then I'd say absolutely give it a go. Right of Way is a brilliant film, quite powerful, quite emotional, very thought-provoking, and definitely worth watching.